Hey artists, in this video we're going to talk about our drawing art project, how to draw a betta fish. So for this project we're going to be creating a collage of a betta fish using all of the body parts drawn as separate elements. Starting with the head and body, we're going to draw an oval shape. We're going to add a semicircle so that we close off the head, add an eye, and use a repeating shape or pattern for the body. You might want to do this with lines, but I chose to do circle shapes to make small scales for my betta fish's body. So I do have some stencil tracers that you could use for this art project, but I want you to try your best to draw these shapes free-handed before turning into using the stencils. When you're drawing the pattern on the body for the betta fish, take your time with this step so that you can plan out your design and not rush through it. You want to keep whatever shape you do consistent so that it looks natural. So whatever size you start with by the head, you want to try and keep it consistent throughout the entire shape of the body for the betta fish's scales. I'm doing this in pencil first. We're going to eventually go over everything with a marker. The next part of the body that we're going to draw is the pectoral fin. So we're going to draw a fin using two kind of triangle shapes, and then we're going to fill them in with lines. Notice that it's not too much bigger than the body. The next shape that we're going to draw is the tail shape. So starting off with a triangle shape and then adding in lines to make the edge of the tail more interesting. Then I go back in and add more wavy lines to make the tip of the tail have more movement. I'm starting to run out of shape base on my paper, but we're going to use a rainbow shape for the ventral fin and the dorsal fin. Once I'm done drawing the body, the pectoral fin, the caudal fin, and the combined part of the dorsal fin and the ventral fin, I'm going to use a marker to outline it. You do not have to use a black marker to outline it if it will enhance your design to use a color that you plan on using in your betta fish's color scheme. So if you want to do a betta fish that has red tones and orange tones, maybe you'd like to use a red or an orange marker to outline all of the shapes of your betta fish. Because I'm doing this on camera, I want to make sure that you're able to see clearly what I'm doing, and that's why I chose to use black. So carefully go over the shapes that you created for scales on your betta fish using whatever color outline you prefer for your design. It's absolutely okay if you get tired and need to take a quick rest break and flex out your hand, shake it out, so that you can continue drawing the scale shapes on your betta fish's body. This is tedious, but it's going to make your betta fish look more realistic and detailed with the amount of effort that you put in drawing these small repeating shapes. We want to use these scale shapes to add texture to the betta fish's body. Notice that the betta fish's body with scales is made with round shapes, but the tails are all made with shapes of long rectangles and lines. So I chose to outline the hardest piece of the entire project first, which was the scales. Then I outlined the shape of the pectoral fin, adding those movement lines and texture inside of each section, doing my best that I could to trace over all of those pencil lines I created. Then I went over the tail fin and I added those textured lines. Then I went over the combination of the top and bottom fins, so it kind of looked like a rainbow, and then at the edge of the rainbow it's got like a wavy line to have more movement. Unlike a rainbow, these lines don't go all the way across, sometimes they kind of stop in the middle. Then I cleaned everything up with an eraser. You want to clean up with an eraser before you add color because that's going to make your drawing look more neat and clean. Once you go over pencil drawing with a marker, you're not going to be able to erase it. Same thing if you choose to use watercolor. You can't erase pencil if you do watercolor or marker on top of it. Next, I chose to use watercolor paint, so get yourself a tray, a cup of water, and a brush. You might also want a paper towel to blot if you are a little too heavy-handed with the water. Rub the brush on top of the color. I chose to start off with the blue, and notice how there's almost no blue left in that watercolor pan, but I'm still able to get a rich value of blue on my betta fish. To the bottom side of the body of the betta fish, I added a purple value. Notice how I'm stamping the brush. It's helping get the color off the brush without irritating the paper by rubbing the brush back and forth and back and forth. So by dabbing the brush onto the paper, I'm able to color it in completely. Notice that I'm not worried about staying inside of the lines of my betta fish because we're going to cut out these 4 elements and collage this together. Our betta fish is all about movement, so when I'm adding color to the betta fish's body, I'm thinking about how I can use the value of the colors to make it look more realistic and like it has movement. So on the betta fish's body, I tried to add that purple value towards the bottom side. As I'm working on these fins, I'm thinking about how I can use the lighter value at the edge of the fin and the darker value towards the center of the fin. So for my betta fish, I mostly use just blue and purple, but you don't have to use blue and purple. You could use a different value of a different color that you'd like. You could use the hairdryer to dry this or let it dry over the night of a class period. And then get your scissors and start to cut out your betta fish's pieces. When you're cutting with a scissor, it's okay if you don't go straight on top of your lines because if you painted outside of your lines, you'll have a little bit more space. Like this fin, I'm not going to cut inside of those tight curves just because I want to rough cut it out. It's going to be a little bit easier for me to get those shapes cut out. If you're going to ask me for help with cutting, I want to see what you can cut out first before you ask me for help. So I did not try to cut close on those wavy lines, and then I roughly applied the pieces next to each other where they should go. I used a thumbtack to make a guiding hole because we're going to use brass fasteners to collage our betta fish. So I made a hole on my betta fish's body, and I made a hole on the rainbow part of the top and bottom fin. Then I put the brass fastener through the fin, the body, and then finally through that back fin, so all 3 pieces are being held by one of the pins, and then the tail is added separately. So use the thumbtack to make a hole in each part and add that brass fastener through. When you go to spread out the brass fastener, make sure that you look for the one side that is longer and the other side that is shorter so that you're able to spread it out. I can't wait to see what you create for your betta fish art project.